Kevin here with a good news update today regarding the next rounds of stimulus, specifically the $1,200 stimulus checks. Remember, this video is sponsored by life insurance. Sign up on Apple Pay within as little as 5 minutes and get 2 free stocks with Webull when you deposit just $100. Let's get started. Mark Meadows, the White House Chief of Staff, was just interviewed outside the White House. And in response to the question, should Americans expect another stimulus check, he stated, quote, "I think the president has been very clear. He's supportive of another round of stimulus checks, and we want to address things in a systemic way." It's kind of like the entire system, right? Propping up the entire ship and raising the waters of the ocean. He went on to say that everyone sees this. Here's another analogy. He said, quote, "Everyone sees this as the last train leaving the station, and Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin will lead the charge." Okay, a lot of things to unpack here. Let's start one at a time. First, when we hear the phrase, everyone thinks this is the last train leaving the station and they want to pack things on, that is a reference to people in Congress seeing this next Phase 4 bill is going to be a fat, massive bill that everybody wants to hitch their own terms into. So everybody's gonna want money for their districts, for their hospitals, for their schools. So you're gonna see a lot of what they call pork in Congress, which is just extra fat that's sort of on the bill. It's never as simple as just a 2-page bill because everybody tries to get their thing hitched onto the wagon, so to speak. Now, another thing to unpack. Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin leading the charge. This is actually really interesting, and in my opinion, it's a very, very good statement. Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin is in control of the stimulus check program, or at least he was in charge of the original stimulus check program, and the assumption is he's going to lead the next stimulus check program. He's also supported additional stimulus checks. He helped create the stimulus check debit card program, and he helped create the direct deposit portal on the IRS website, which many of us used to make sure that we got our stimulus check. This is his opportunity to shine in a next round, to prove that the systems he's established are not only very fast, but very efficient at getting money into the hands of the American people. So a second round of stimulus checks is the perfect opportunity for him to shine. At look how fast I can take money that the Federal Reserve printed up and give it to the people. That is going to be huge for election prospects for Donald Trump as well. Think about it. Donald Trump says, hey, we wanted another stimulus check. The moment we decided to, people got it within 3 days. Picture that. That is political clout. And that, I think, is what's being set up here. And the fact that Mark Meadows, the Chief of Staff, says Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin is going to lead the charge says exactly that to me. Now, no guarantees, right? But to me, this is a very, very good sign for the next round of stimulus checks. Now, Mark Meadows did further discuss that Trump also wants, he wants to increase the take-home pay for every American through a payroll tax cut. We've talked about this regularly in many videos, so we're not going to go deep into that. He also talked about incentives for manufacturing to come back, and he talked about these as being 2 very critical components. That is increasing the pay that people take home and bringing manufacturing back to the United States. He did stop short of saying whether or not there were any red lines. He kind of suggested, hey, there are things that are critical, but no red lines. So we're short of that guarantee for stimulus checks or a payroll tax cut or some of these other benefits. But it sounds like a lot of these things are very, very critical. And again, the fact that Steve Mnuchin is leading the charge here, very, very, very good sign. Now, you better have life insurance for the next parts. Y'all remember the guy, Senator Rob Portman? He's the guy who proposed the $450 back-to-work boost, basically taking some of the $600 per week unemployment pay back to work in the form of a $450 back-to-work boost. A lot of people hated that, and rightfully so, because it's like, what about the people who already went back to work? Or what about the people without a job, right? Well, when this person, just so you know who it was, when he was asked if a new stimulus package will pass before August, his response was, it's possible. And that's because yesterday, actually on July 4th, I mentioned a couple times that right now it actually seems like it's quite possible they might not pass something before September. That is, we might have to wait until Congress goes back to work after their next recess, and they go back to work in September, which would be very devastating, and I think a lot of us would just want to slam our heads against a wooden table and hopefully hurt ourselves because this has been ridiculous. Furthermore, at the same time, we have Chuck Grassley, another senator, saying, I think there's going to be a bill. And so, honestly, it's somewhat surprising how clueless the Senate seems to be right now. There's really no leadership in the Senate. And so I think really what you have here is a situation where the Senate is not communicating, and it's actually giving Donald Trump the carte blanche opportunity to talk about things that he wants to talk about. And so, but rather than bag on the Senate, I do want to understand a bit what's going on in the Senate. We have to know this. There is a delegation within the Senate, a group of hardcore Republicans that consistently say, I don't want to spend, I don't want bailouts, I don't want more stimulus, I don't want California and New York to get money. On top of that, you've got Mitch McConnell purposefully not giving guidance. That creates a lot of frustration for a lot of us. And the silence is very painful, and rightfully so. I mean, we look at the Senate as like, could you all just like communicate? Like, is it gonna pass in August? Is it gonna pass in September? When are we actually going to expect something? And it's become very, very, very frustrating. But now this isn't me just trying to be the optimist here. This is me looking at this realistically and thinking, wait a minute, the more silent the Senate is, the more powerful Donald Trump's voice is. Donald Trump almost on a daily basis demands stimulus checks and a payroll tax cut. Which what's interesting about that is, when Mitch McConnell finally decides that he's waited and seen enough, he's going to have to align with what Donald Trump has essentially said on a regular and almost daily basis. Because if Mitch McConnell says no to Donald Trump, then they kind of both risk their elections. Because think about this, the only way to win against Democrats is for Republicans to be unified. There's already enough division in the country. But if Republicans aren't even unified within their own party, then how the heck are the American people supposed to elect any Republicans to the Senate, to the House, or to the presidency? I mean, we could realistically have a full Democratic sweep, which means the House is controlled by Democrats, the Senate is controlled by Democrats, and the presidency is controlled by a Democrat. And so really, the more quiet Mitch McConnell is, the more likely Donald Trump's stimulus check and Donald Trump's payroll tax cut becomes. And that's why this actually becomes a very good news update. I have to say, if you have not yet gotten your 2 free stocks with Webull, I don't know what you're waiting for. You're missing out on buying some amazing companies. Take your 2 free stocks, sell them, and buy something like Lemonade, which is up 31, almost 32% right now. Glad I pitched that one last week, so thank you to everybody who supported the Lemonade trade. Obviously, the entire tech sector is dominating any of the retail and the restaurants, which are very, very dirty stocks right now. And that includes Dave & Buster's.